246. That's the amount of days that nearly 400 ostriches have been happy, healthy, and asymptomatic from the avian flu that they tested positive to. I should say 2 dead carcasses tested positive by the controversial PCR test last year. And that's also the amount of days that their farmers have been fighting tooth and nail to try to save their lives from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which says they must be culled despite their apparent health, which is quite obvious from my reports, which you can find at savetheostriches.com. And so must the research that their eggs represent, research that was extracting antibodies from those eggs to learn how to better fight viruses like the avian flu, which, competes with Big Pharma's vaccine plans to address that. I'm Drea Humphrey with Rebel News, and we've given you many reports on this story. And just last week, I reported by article on how the farm lost its bid to have a stay order in federal court. That's the order that's in place to keep the animal safe while you're pursuing other legal avenues. It was devastating for the farmers, and it follows 2 previous losses in the federal court. One was a judicial review, and the second, the appeal of it. And I've learned today that the farmers had quite the scare last night as they await this looming cull order or some way to save their birds. They claim that around 10 p.m., they witnessed 2 military-grade helicopters flying over the herd and shining a light down on the animals until they came out and shone a light back. But nevertheless, there could still be a glimmer of hope. And Katie Pisitny, the Universal Ostrich Farm spokesperson and adult daughter of co-owner Karen Esperson, joins me now.
So we're so proud of these ostriches that are so resilient. And we, at the same time, with something like that and another verdict of denial for emergency stay order, there's sorrow that their survival means so little to those people in power and the opportunity that we have here to help humanity with these animals. So we still have hope. It was a big blow. It has been very hard on the whole family and every supporter out there. They've been beacons of hope for so many. They are carrying the weight of a lot of prayer. They have a lot of prayer behind them and a lot of love. So it was hard, not just on us, but I know everybody that supports us. So today was a very emotional day. Each day that we sit here with an open kill order is extremely emotional. And but we just keep praying for a miracle. And Omar, our lawyer, is working on some stuff right now. He is one of those miracles, and just really going through every word in the last federal court order and just seeing what we can do here. Because we did have reconsideration materials that we did submit to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And that material was from the time period after December 31st to January 10th. That's what we've been fighting for the last 9 months, is about the initial decision, the cull decision.
Right.
The reconsideration material we're filed is about January 10th to this 245 days.
Yeah. 245.
So 245 days.
Well, speaking of, trying to say, hey, let's look at the facts. Let's look at the reality that basically proves they are healthy, not being heard. The farm's position is when you were trying to take this next step, the CFIA was allowed to bring forth new information with this claim that they've kind of revisited the samples from last December and have determined the birds have some sort of mutant version of avian flu that is of higher risk. What was all that about?
So let's talk about that for a second. Remember, these are 2 PCR test results from December 2024 that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has been allowed to keep playing with. And who knows what they're creating in petri dishes and trying to create, or what's been created behind closed doors for 9 months. But those are 2 PCR tests. We have not one of these ostriches on our farm. This has to be made clear to all the public. Not one ostrich on our farm that is alive, thriving, and well and full of antibodies, 245 days, have been tested.
Mhm.
So they keep moving the goalpost on us because first it was about trading partner policies. We crushed that with the US.
Yeah.
Then we had the novel reassortment. We crushed that with our science and our comments and letting the public know that it is not a rare, it is just underreported.
Mhm.
Then they went back to trading partner policies. We got a second RFK letter and crushed that one again. Now we have a new virulent strain of H5N1, and our animals pose the biggest risk.
Wow.
Now I'm going to throw that back as a thank you to Canadian Food Inspection Agency, because if they can continue to test through these 9 months and continue to explore, they're proving that they should be able to do research, right? That we should be able to test. We should be able to research these animals. They are already, so let's research their antibodies. Number two, if we have the most virulent, worst, deadliest strain of avian influenza in Canada or wherever, that makes these animals more valuable than
Yeah.
ever, because these animals now then are a recovered flock or herd to the most virulent strain of avian influenza. They're survivors and they have antibodies for it, which we should be using it to protect what could become a problem in
Mhm.
Canada. So they did us a favor, in my eyes, by doing that. They just didn't do us a favor by releasing that to the media
Mhm.
before they even told us. So they released that to mainstream media before they told our farm that we now have the most virulent
Of
strain.
course, of course.
Yeah.
Let's talk about mainstream media for a little bit. A lot of them, I would say, have been fairly good covering the story. There's been a lot of coverage of the
Yeah.
story, and there's been a few articles that have stood out, and it's like, oh my gosh, what you're doing? What are you doing? But I did notice a shift this time. So you had
Yeah.
the one that we're talking about. All of a sudden, the CBC is telling the whole world that these birds are the most dangerous flock
Yeah.
around. And then they had some farmers that were concerned. And of course, I would imagine more are going to be concerned with this narrative. What about you? What are you noticing with the overall coverage from the mainstream media?
It shifted, and I'm disappointed. It did shift. It went from, I've never been in this situation before. So in my experience with mainstream media, I was protecting, I was always defending them. I felt like we were being treated very unbiased. It was more of a, unbiased. They were taking the Canadian Food Inspection Agency's material. They were also presenting ours very well
Mhm.
and letting people decide for themselves. And I believe that all of that really switched in the last month. I've seen a definite big shift, and a lot of people have, and that's really unfair. I'm disappointed because there's still two sides to this.
Mhm.
One is speculative material from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency with no results, no new testing, no new anything.
Mhm.
But yet here we are sitting here with the proof of 245-day animals that we're spending time with every day and fighting with, and still in court. We're still fighting for new avenues in the judicial system.
So, what are you calling supporters to do? And how long do you think it's going to take before you know if you can get an emergency stay order in Supreme Court?
Right. So we are absolutely asking for people to continue to please share, support us on a global scale, share to friends. If you have friends across the world, share this story. There's still many people who don't understand what we're fighting for here. We are not just fighting to save the ostriches. We are fighting for all farmers. It's an agricultural problem. It's the stamping out policy. We are fighting for a better way. It shouldn't be a universal one size fits all solution. We are fighting for everybody. We're fighting for our food security, immunity. Sorry. So it's a big thing. Please share with everybody you know. Go to saveourostriches.com. You can find updated information on there. You can find Universal Ostrich Farms on X and TikTok, and off my Facebook page, Katie Pasitney. Reach out, write letters to our agricultural minister, Heath McDonald. Write him and say how important this is for all of us to be heard. This policy needs to be changed to protect our agricultural sector. Please write letters to media asking for them to take a more of a non unbiased approach and start covering this as a whole story, not a one-sided story again. We roughly think that our leave application for Supreme Court should be probably within a couple days, and I will give you an update on how that goes with Oman. We're asking Trump to, we've had the support of the Trump administration, but we are asking for Trump to please step up, and your voice matters. You hold a lot of power, and your administration has been one of the administrations that actually understands that these animals pose more benefit to humanity alive than they do dead. Just pray. Send us lots of prayers. We're going to keep asking you to pour in prayers for our farm. And we just want to thank you, Drea, for continuing to cover this so well, like you cover so many things, but being a voice for us in Canada that really want to see the change that we all deserve and make Canada a strong and beautiful led country again.
You heard Katie. She wants you guys to peacefully write letters to the officials who could stop this cull if they wanted to. And at our special website called SaveTheOstriches.com, we've made that very simple to do in a matter of seconds. Just scroll down, click our email campaign, and you can send off our pre-written email or revise it to your own respectful manner. And we already have plugged in there everyone who the pressure needs to be applied to. Drea Humphrey with Rebel News.